Broker. I've got a code for you guys later this afternoon. Oh, sorry, later this afternoon, later during the video. And yes, today we're going to talk, I'm going to be explaining a strategy that I use. It's one of my 3 core strategies. The previous video we did on Tuesday was on divergence. That's my, I want to say my main strategy that I use for trading. And then the strategy that involves the RSI is my second main strategy. And I'm going to be explaining that to you guys today. We're going to be looking at different time frames. We're going to be looking at different assets and how we can incorporate this into our trading. First, we do need to talk a little bit about the RSI. It is very important if you're using any indicator that you understand what this indicator is showing you. So basically, any indicator you load on your chart, doesn't matter what it is, will give you data that this indicator derives from price action. And if you do not understand what exactly the indicator is showing you, you will not be able to use that data to make a informed decision. Okay, so it's really important. Doesn't matter what strategy you're using, doesn't matter what indicators you prefer to use. It's really, really important that you really understand them before attempting to use any indicator. I see a lot of people fall short on this. A lot of people just they think it's just lines and they slap it on the chart, and people think we can just trade oversold and overbought level, stuff like that. And that is simply not the way that it works. Okay, so the RSI is short for Relative Strength Index. And this was developed in 1978 already. So it's been around for a very long time. The calculation is a bit complicated. The actual math behind it, but you can very easily Google it if you're interested in seeing the exact formulas and stuff. But it's important to understand that the RSI shows you the average gain or loss of price related to the previous period. So by default, an RSI will be a 14 period, meaning it will take into account the last 14 candles that's displayed on a chart. So if you're on a daily chart, it'll be the last 2 weeks. If you are on a 1-minute chart, it will be the last 14 minutes. Okay, so it shows you that, which is basically, we can also say it's the speed or the magnitude at which price changes. Okay, so there's a couple of ways we can use the RSI. Like I said, in Tuesday's video, we did discuss the divergence. So you can definitely use the RSI for divergence. I do this quite often. It's a very reliable indicator to pick up divergence. But today, I'm going to be discussing a different way we can use the RSI and get rid of the stigma of, not the stigma, the concept that people have thinking that as soon as the RSI goes into overbought, they can sell, and as soon as it goes into oversold, they can buy. So we're going to look at that today. It's also very important to remember that the RSI is a momentum indicator. And the thing about momentum is the more momentum something has, the longer it takes to stop or turn around. And this applies to price charts as well. So the more momentum your price has, the longer it will take to slow down. Okay, so that's an important concept as well. So let's head on over to the charts and we'll see if we can pick up a few trades using specifically this strategy. Okay, currently I am on Euro USD. This is my preferred asset to trade, but that's just a personal thing. Currently we're on Euro USD, we're on a 10-second chart. The strategy that I'm going to be explaining, we're going to be looking at different time frames. I'm just going to explain it on a 10-second chart. Simple reason being, there's just more entries. The shorter your time frame, the more entries you will get. So if you're on a 10-second chart, you might get 3 or 4 entries an hour. If you're on a 1-minute chart, you might get 1 or 2 every 2 hours, depending on how price moves. Some days it's more, some days it's less. As always, it's really important to exercise discipline and control We don't take trades outside of our strategy just because we haven't had an entry for a long time. We don't force trades. We do need to wait. If you are trading and you're having a slow day and your strategy isn't giving you a lot of entries, you have two options. Either if you have the discipline, sit and wait for entries. If you don't have the patience and you are getting frustrated, get up, go do something else for an hour, come back and see if the market conditions has changed. Okay, so we're going to take it slow. Also, another thing, before I explain the strategy to you guys, which is really important, all strategies have losing trades. There is no strategy on this planet that will give you a 100% win rate. You will be losing trades on this with this strategy and with any other strategy as well. The thing is, I am quite comfortable with this strategy because I use it in my everyday trading. I've tested it enough. I know how it performs. I don't get excited if I lose a trade. When I do lose a trade, I don't do a martingale trade immediately or double my take a trade immediately or use martingale or stuff like that. I just accept my loss and I carry on. This is very difficult for a lot of people to do. But if you stick to your strategy, whatever strategy you're using, always stick to it. Have clear entry parameters, clear conditions for taking trades, and just stick to it. Okay, so how are we going to be using the RSI today? If you look at my chart, you will note that I've highlighted the 50 line. This is the center of the RSI. RSI moves between the values of 0 and 100. So the 50 line is halfway. So basically everything, when the RSI is running above the 50 line, that's telling me price has bullish momentum. And if it's running below the RSI, it's telling me that price has bearish momentum. Okay, so that's the first concept, first part of the strategy. You will also notice that I've got moving averages on my chart. These moving averages are set to 50, 100, and 200. Okay, these are considered the classical moving averages. And if you set your chart, if you overlay them on your chart, you will see that price respects this quite regularly. Let me just take this auto scroll off. Price does respect these areas quite often. Okay, so we're going to use that to our advantage. It doesn't mean we're just going to simply, if it hits, we're just going to take trades. But what we are going to do is we're going to look for areas where price is moving in an established trend. Okay, so a trend is, if it's a bullish trend, is defined as price making higher highs and higher lows, and a bearish trend is defined as price making lower lows and lower highs and lower lows. I'm going to use a bullish example, but it's exactly the opposite for a bearish movement. When price is moving upwards and when price is in an upwards trend, we're going to see higher highs, as I just said, and lower lows. These lower lows, we call those troughs. So a trough will be like this. This trough is at the bottom and the peaks are at the top. So if price makes a high and come down, we call that a peak. And if it's the low we're talking about, talking about troughs. So when price is moving upwards in an upwards direction like this, we're going to see a bunch of corrections if it's in an established upwards trend. So price will keep making these troughs, but the lows will be every low will be higher than the previous one. And how we're going to take advantage of this is we're going to look for areas where price is moving in a direction, either up or down, and then we're going to look for pullbacks. These pullbacks we're going to look for on or very, very close to our moving averages. And at the same time, we're going to see if the RSI breaks through, changes momentum, or if the RSI gets rejected from the middle line and continues the current momentum. This is basically telling us that the momentum for the current move is going to be maintained, and we can take a trade in the direction of the current trend. This will be an example of sell trade here, although this would have been, it did break through a little bit, but the momentum didn't really change. As soon as it broke through, it just below, it was stopped by the moving average there, the 50, and it changed direction again and it continued downwards. Okay, this does not mean that price will continue downwards indefinitely, but it does tell us that this is possibly not a reversal, but just a correction, and we would be, it might be a good idea to go in the direction of the trend. Okay, so that's basically how it works. So to recap quickly, price needs to be moving in an established trend. Just excuse me 1 second. There we go. Price needs to be moving in an established trend, whether it's up or down. That's when we start looking for entries using this strategy. And then the first condition is price needs to make a correction that either is on or very close to our moving average. And the second parameter for the strategy will be then that price is either moving or price hits the middle line. Oh, sorry, the RSI hits the middle line of the 50 line and then gets rejected and carries on. Okay, so this is what we're going to be using for. We're going to use this exclusively today to look for trades. This is a strategy we can use by its strategy. This is a strategy that doesn't require anything else. It's just an RSI and some moving averages, and then we can start looking for trades. And we can see, let's switch to a 1 minute quick. Okay, so we can see that this is not a lot of trades on the 1 minute, but we did get some entries, although they were a bit sloppy. There was a nice entry there. Price was in a downwards direction, pushed up, made a small correction to the moving average there. It just tapped the middle line, got rejected, so there was a nice sell opportunity. And then also we had some buy opportunities like there. This would have been a buy opportunity because before we have already made a new higher high and a higher low here. So this is an established trend. So there was a buy opportunity there. You will see a lot of opportunities for this strategy. Looking at the charts, just keep in mind the higher your time frame is going to be. I know a lot of people struggle trading 10 seconds. It's too fast for them, which is fine. If you're on a higher time frame, just be prepared that you're going to wait a bit longer to find entries. It's not going to move as quick as a 10-second chart. Okay. While we're looking for entries, if you guys have any questions, this is the time to ask. You're more than welcome. Say hi in the chat. Ask any questions that you have, so that we can answer this and get clarity. If there's something that I didn't explain properly and you need some clarification, please ask your questions. It's this is the time to do it. Okay, so and then as promised, the guys, those of you with PO Broker, I do have a code for you guys. So if you make a deposit, you're going to get an 80% deposit bonus from as little as $10. And your code for today is RSI80. Okay. Right. So let's see if we can find any trades. This could be, it's pushing through. It did not. Sometimes the market moves fast. We miss trades. So that's fine. I actually want to show you guys a way that I use this on OTC as well. But this is super fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to look at a few OTC charts quick. When I'm trading OTC like this, I use a line chart, zoom it out just a little bit, and then I also just do 5-second trades. Okay, so the concept remains the same. We're looking for areas where price comes down, makes a correction in a trending asset. So this isn't really a very nice example of a trending asset, but we know that when OTC charts start trending, they tend to trend quite strongly. There was some sell opportunities there. This is the kind of move that we're looking for, and then we're just looking for retraces that might happen. Sometimes when you're going through the OTC charts, when you're trending it like this, it takes a while to find a properly trending asset, but we'll find one soon enough. And I'll just show you guys an example of using this on with OTC as well. Nothing really trending. Oh, there we go. Here's an example of a sell trade. I did take this a little bit late though, but there was a nice example. We had price running downwards very strongly, came up, stopped just short of my moving average, and my RSI got rejected from the middle line. It's really important to wait for that rejection. Okay, so even if it feels like you might miss out on the trade, wait for the rejection, because oftentimes if we start jumping the gun, we're going to see it. You might see it hit the middle line, think it's going to reject, take the trade, and then it just never rejects and continues against you. So it's super important. Wait for the parameters of your strategy to be filled. If it's this strategy, it doesn't matter, or any other strategy that you're using, it doesn't matter which one. Have clearly defined entry parameters and stick to those. Wait for your strategy to give you a signal. If you do not do this, your strategy is basically useless. Doesn't matter how good it is, it's useless if you don't stick to it. Okay, so, but that's an example of how we use this, how you can use the strategy. We're going to see if we can find maybe another one. Okay, so it's hitting the RSI, it's getting rejected, but I need to wait for, okay, so there we go. It pushed through a little bit, pushed up just quick, and kept running down. As with any strategy or anything else in life, really, this is going to take some practice. So I really encourage you guys to not just jump to a live account and start trading with this. Practice it a bit. That's what demo accounts are for. It's not a waste of time trading on demo if you to practice a strategy and get familiar with it. But it is really important that you are familiar with it. It's going to take some practice to time your entries. You know what, let's go back to the real market. There's not a lot of assets trending at the moment that nicely. So we're going to stick to this. Here's an example of a sell trade we can take actually. Is it rejecting? What was this? Was it, there's no data out, so this isn't data. Okay, so the RSI is pushing through. If your entry doesn't look good, skip it. A lot of time people will force entries. It's not a good idea ever, really. You do need to, you know, how can I put this? Don't give in to FOMO. There's a lot of entries during the day. If you're trading, especially if you're trading on a 10-second chart, it's going to be a lot of entries, guys. Don't rush them. Don't force your trades. Wait for some nice entries and take those. This was a sell. If I did take it, yeah, it would have been a good trade. It would have been a 1-minute expiry. So this would have been good. But it's a super simple strategy. Very, very simple. You just need to stick to the parameters. Let's see if we can find something on one of the other. some examples. There was an example of a sell trade as well, where my RSI paused there on the middle line and then started coming down again. So there was a sell opportunity. It's really important to understand that whatever strategy you're using, you are never going to have the same amount of trades in the same time period. My trading day starts usually at just after the UK session opens, which is for me currently 10 o'clock in the morning. That's when I start trading. Some days in that first hour, I'll have no entries from my strategies. Doesn't happen often, but it does happen. Some days I'll have a lot of entries, but I average out about 3 or 4 entries per hour when trading Euro USD exclusively. But this isn't, it's not, you can't say, you can't think to have, I missed a sell here. This was a nice sell. I want to say this is like the perfect setup for this strategy. It hit the moving average there, the 100, got rejected. At the same time, my RSI got rejected from the middle line, and telling me that this is just a correction. We broke the support here. Remember, moving averages act as dynamic support and resistance areas, right? Broke the support, came back for a retest, and it's just now continuing downwards. So this was actually a beautiful trade. This is a beautiful, beautiful example of this specific strategy. Okay, so we do have a few people watching. Nobody got any questions? If you do, guys, please ask them. That's the whole reason we're doing this live. Ask questions so we can discuss it, so we can get you guys familiar with anything you might not understand. But anyway, okay, so I completely forgot what I wanted to say now. Let's see if we can find some more trades. It'll come back to me. Let's see what Euro is doing. Okay, it didn't give us a strategy. Entry there. Let's see if we might get another one here. A way to anticipate entries with this, we can see the 50 average moving downwards now. So this is moving in conjunction with price. If price pushes up to this area here, we're probably going to see it touch. Okay, and this is the reason I like moving averages, or the reason I prefer moving averages above technical drawings. Especially because I'm trading 10 seconds so much. It's a constant change when you have to constantly change your drawings, whereas the moving averages are auto-generated and they just move and they act as support and resistance areas. Price didn't get really close to the moving average here, but we can see that it almost tapped the RSI there and is continuing down. Personally, I don't like taking the trades with the strategy if it's not really close to a moving average, because it's telling me that, not telling me that quite often support and resistance areas kind of act like magnets. So the closer price gets to it, the more likely it is it's going to get hit. It's not a law. There are no laws in trading, so it's not a fixed law, but it's got a higher probability of hitting the moving average as it gets closer, or hitting the support and resistance areas as it draws closer. So I like high probability trades, not low probability trades. Here's a nice example of a trade we're definitely not going to take. Reason being, price just made a new high, and we are in a downwards move, but a new high signals that we might have a change in price direction now. Okay, because as we can see, price was making lower lows. It reached the high there, made lower highs, and made 3 lower lows, 4 actually. But now it's made a higher high. Higher high is a bullish trend. It doesn't mean that price is going to reverse. That's another thing we just need to keep an eye on. But it often signals that price might be changing direction for a bit. So it's something to keep an eye on. You don't need, if you're struggling, you can maybe draw it in with the, this should actually be, let's draw this in. I'm going to delete there. Let's give this a draw. Make you a little bit sicker. There we go. So if you can't see it with your naked eye, draw it in. And we can see this is a very clear downwards trend. And now it's super clear that this is not a downwards trend anymore. By definition, we're not making lower lows and lower highs and lower lows. So it's by definition not a bearish trend anymore. So we're going to be careful. We're not just we're going to be careful of taking sell trades. My RSI is flirting around the middle line. It's at the moment it's at the top, so it's telling me there's a little bit of bullish momentum. The further it goes, the more that momentum gets or becomes. But we're just going to wait and see what happens. What do we know when price breaks a resistance or a support area? Quite often it will come back to retest that area before continuing in the direction of the break, and that might be exactly what is happening here. So we need to be careful taking buy or sell trades right now. We need to see what price decides to do. So it could just be a retest of this trend line here and continue upwards, or it will break. There's always only two options. Price is either going to go up or go down. There's always just those two options. And all we need to do is determine which way is more likely. And usually this is the reason I like this RSI strategy so much, and the reason I like divergence so much as well. It doesn't predict market movement for me. It's not an attempt at predicting what the market will do. It's showing me something that is happening at the moment, and I am just following it. Okay, so very important to keep in mind the strategy that I've explained now. The only thing we're doing is trying to identify these corrections in the trend. That's all we're doing with and we're using the RSI to see if the once it changes direction, the RSI will change sides, will change to the other side of the 50 line. As long, if we, like in this example here, we were moving in a downwards, movement, a bullish trend, a bearish trend. And the RSI couldn't break through the 50 line, which showed me that these corrections are maintaining the bearish momentum. So I'm just going along for the ride. I'm just carrying on in the downwards move. Okay, so that's, if you can wrap your head around this concept, the strategy should be relatively easy for you. But it's very important we understand that we're just basically riding the corrections in a trend using the RSI, the rejections of the middle line. It's very simple. And as I said, this can be used on any time frame. Even if you're trading Forex, you can use this on a 1 hour or 4 hour chart as well. Obviously 1 hour or 4 hour charts might give you an entry a week. Okay, so it's very slow if you use it on higher time frames, but still usable. Still definitely usable. Okay, so let's see what happens here. It's always fascinating how once a decent trend line has been established, how price respects it for a while. I always find it amazing. Let's see if we might get a sell trade here. Let's see what happens if price gets rejected. We're nearing the moving average there. Okay, so the RSI didn't quite get to the middle line there, so this is not a trade for me. I would have loved it if it stayed up, maybe even get closer to the moving average there. It did not though, so I tend to stay out of setups like those. We can see this low was lower. I thought for a second we could be seeing some possible bullish divergence there on the RSI as well, but no. Okay, but in a period of, what's the time now? 15 minutes. We already had two possible entries there that we could have taken. This one would have been fine if you waited for it to tap the middle line. Although this would have been a dodgy trade. Might have gotten it, might have not, depending on where you got in and depending on the time frame that you took this on. So now my RSI is hitting. But the thing we need to keep in mind though is we just made a new high from this high here. So could go either way. This is the real important reason why you need to practice this. You need to get a feel for the market. You need to get a feel for how we had an example here. If we take this candle here, for example, when it pushed up, the RSI was basically touching the middle line. But because this candle pulled back again, it pulled the RSI down as well. Because remember, RSI, any indicator, but especially, well, not any, especially, the RSI uses price action to calculate its values. So while the candle is changing, the RSI will be changing as well. And it's important to wait. So these kind of things you'll need to practice a little bit to see if it's forming or not. A lot of people will suggest that this should have been a trade that I should have taken. Personally, my rules for this strategy is that it just needs to tap the middle line and then get rejected. This was not a rejection, so I'm a very cautious trader. I really don't like taking chances with trades or with entries. I wait for decent setups. I am a bit slower than a lot of people will trade. I trade a little bit slower than a lot of people, but I think my accuracy does make up for it. So it's important to understand and then wait. We need to wait for decent setups. The better the setup looks, the higher the probability is that it's going to be winning, or that it's going to be a winning trade. So for those of you that just joined, and welcome. And if you guys are with PO Broker, I've got a code here for you guys for today's video, and a reminder that that code is RSI80. You can use that for an 80% deposit bonus from as little as $10. So if you're with PO Broker, you can make use of that. Okay, I'm going to jump around. Let's jump around a bit. I'm on Euro JPY, not even Euro USD. Let's see if we can find some entries somewhere else. At the beginning of the video, I said that one of the conditions for the strategy is that price needs to be in an established trend. So this year right now is definitely not an established trend. We've got higher highs, lower lows. This is a range. Okay, so this is ranging. I'm not going to look for entries in this area here. Okay, guys, I don't know if I'm back yet. Apologies for that. We had a quick power dip. So basically my PC just restarted and it started back up. Not sure what happened there, but it does look like I'm back. There we go. I'm back. Really sorry, this is unfortunately out of my control. Okay, so let's continue. I think my camera reset as well. Give me a second. Oh, what happened now? Oh, there we go. Camera's good. Okay, where were we? We're going to be looking for entries. See if we can find some on some of the other assets. We might just jump back to some OTC charts as well. Let's see. We are in the, looks like it's the beginning of an upward trend here. We might get an entry on this. What's this? GBP CAD. Okay, so it's coming down. It's hitting. If this rejects now and my RSI pulls back up, I'm definitely gonna take a buy. But it doesn't look like this is happening. Okay, RSI is through. It's no way it's going to be rejecting, so that's not a trade for us using specifically with this strategy. Let's see if we can find something maybe on one of the other ones. No trending. This is more ranging than anything else. Had a sell opportunity here. Missed that, unfortunately. Okay, let's see if we can pick up maybe one or two OTC trades. Okay, so I'm on OTC on a tick chart, and I'm just going to look for something that's in a clear trend. Let's see if we can find something, find an asset that's trending nicely. This is moving in a fairly decent position, although it's starting to push up. We are seeing highs there. Okay, let's definitely not that. This is not a very well established trend. This is like 5 minutes old. The thing with trading is you never know. I always hope that when we do these videos, we get nice examples and a lot of examples so we can see how the trading is. But sometimes it's just not the case. And there is unfortunately not much we can do about this. I can explain to you guys what the strategy is and how we use it. But if there are no examples on a chart, there's nothing we can do about that, unfortunately. Okay, so this is moving fairly decently. Let's see if we get lucky and we get a trade opportunity on this. When I'm doing this on OTC, I really want the price as close to the moving average as possible. I really don't like taking trades far away from the moving averages. So what we're going to do now is we're going to wait just a minute or two. We're going to have a look and see if price comes down to my moving average. It is moving upwards, so we can see that the momentum is decent. My RSI is staying above the 50 line, telling me there is bearish momentum. And what we're going to wait for is a correction. So we want price to come down. We want, at the same time, we want the RSI to come down to the middle line. And we want it to just tap that middle line and then turn upwards again. And if we do, as soon as it does, we're just going to take a 5-second trade and ride along with it. Okay, let's see. It's coming down. It is coming down. It's tapping. If it jumps up, we can take a buy. If it doesn't, there we go. Quick trade. We're in and out. Okay, so on a tick chart, I'll use a 5-second expiry when I'm trading with OTC. But there was a decent example. Price was fairly close to it came down fairly close to my moving average, and my RSI did get rejected. And as soon as it did, I took the buy, and then I just rode it out, and we can continue looking for trades like this. So whether you're using a tick chart, whether you're using Japanese candles, the concept of this specific strategy remains the same. It's the conditions does not change, or the entry parameters does not change no matter what time frame you're using. Doesn't matter what if you're using a tick chart or Japanese candles. To be fair, I never tried this on any something like Icon Ashi or some candles like those. I do not like them. Again, it's personal preference. I know a lot of guys that, especially Icon Ashi, trade with those, but on 10 seconds and 1 minute, basically my rule is this: real market is Japanese candles, and OTC I use tick charts. But it doesn't matter what you're using, the entry parameters remains the same. It doesn't change. You need to wait for the conditions of this of the entries of the conditions of the strategy to be met. Once it's met, you take your trade. And again, guys, please, I'm asking very nicely, don't waste money by jumping onto this in a live account. Just practice a little bit on a demo account, even if it takes a day or two. But it's really, really important to practice and get familiar with the strategy. Learn to take the entries. Learn how to spot to see areas where you might get an entry. Learn the behavior of price in relation to the RSI and to the moving averages. It's crucial with any strategy. It's really crucial. So I'm really asking nicely, don't just jump into it. Do it the correct way. Practice it a little bit. Make sure you understand the concept of this strategy. And once you understand it, just make sure that you're familiar with it, and you don't get nervous when if you get a feeling of nervousness when you have to take an entry. It means you're not familiar with the strategy. You haven't practiced enough, or you don't quite understand it. So then, you need to maybe watch this video again, or maybe go read up on the RSI, understand what it's showing you, whatever you need to do. But it's always crucial. Practice and test. Doesn't matter where you get the strategy from. Practice and test. Okay. So we had a few trades. It's not as quick. We didn't get as many trades as I would have liked to have gotten. But that's the way it is. Some days we get a lot of entries and we can do a lot of examples. Other days we don't get that many entries. This morning was a little bit slow as well. Entries were slower than usual. So, we get days like this, and but we're not going to force our trades. We're just going to wait for entries, because when we start forcing trades, we start making mistakes. Okay. So if anybody has a question, this is the time to ask it. While I wait for the small delay to go through, a quick reminder, guys, those of you with PO Trader, you can use code RSI80 for an 80% deposit bonus from as little as $10. So if you with PO Broker, make use of that. And yeah. Okay, I hope I explained this sufficiently, and I hope this helps. Okay, so I'll see you guys next week with a new. Sometime next week we'll do another stream. Until then, as always, guys, trade smart and trade safe, and have a great weekend. Cheers for now.